Hello and welcome to Business 360. I'm Archana Solanki. Here are the headlines we're tracking this evening. Sensex and Nifty end flat after choppy trade. Mid-cap and small caps continue to decline. Indian rupee suffers its biggest single-day fall in 3 weeks. Government gets cracking on divestment, moves to appoint market makers for stake sale in select PSU banks and insurance companies. UCO Bank, Central Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank are potential candidates, along with LIC and New India Insurance.
Wanting to run your own ship, captain of your own ship.
Captain of your own ship made the choice easier.
That was the easier. That is what made it easy.
Federal Bank's ambition is to break into the top 5, says new CEO V.S. Manian in his first television interview. Bets on expansion in Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, along with a foray into wealth management. That's an exclusive. Tata Capital Board approves its IPO plan. The move is in sync with RBI's mandatory requirement for upper layer NBFCs to list within 3 years of being notified. The company board also approves rights issue worth 1,504 crore for stakeholders. SEBI releases a consultation paper on the F&O segment, recommends a change in the way open interest is calculated in the options space. As per SEBI, the new formula would reduce instances where stocks are pushed into the F&O ban period by 90%. Unilever CEO Heinz Schumacher steps down less than 2 years after taking charge of the global consumer goods giant in a surprising decision. Current CFO Fernando Fernandez will take the reins from March.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money.
French President Macron says a ceasefire in Ukraine could be in place within weeks. This after a quarterly meeting with President Trump that also displayed their stark differences. The US sides with Russia in a UN resolution vote on Ukraine. US sanctions 4 Indian companies along with a dozen other entities for alleged involvement in Iran's oil trade. The US sanctioned 4 other Indian entities last year for alleged involvement in Russia and Iran's oil and gas trade. 72 hours since the tunnel collapse in Telangana, authorities yet to establish contact with 8 people trapped inside. A team of expert rat hole miners joined the rescue efforts. A Delhi court sentences former Congress MP Sajjan Kumar to life imprisonment in a murder case related to the 1984 Anti-Sikh riots case. This comes weeks after his conviction. Kumar is currently lodged in Tihar jail. Prime Minister Modi inaugurates the Assam Investors Summit. Mukesh Ambani and Gautam Adani pledge investments worth 50,000 crore rupees each. Tata Group promises 30,000 crores for renewable energy. All right, let's start with the market action. Sensex and Nifty ended flat after a choppy session. Sensex ended barely in the green after a 5-day sell-off. Nifty ended flat but in the red. Mid-caps and small caps continue to decline. The mid-cap index lost over 300 points in trade today. From stocks to the money market, the Indian rupee declined by more than 50 paisa against the dollar. This is the biggest single-day fall in 3 weeks. The rupee breached the 87 mark against the dollar. The record low for the rupee is 87.95, which it hit earlier this month. The government has invited bids from bankers to sell stake in select PSU banks and insurance companies. UCO Bank, Central Bank, Indian Overseas Bank, Punjab and Sindh Bank are potential candidates, along with LIC and New India Insurance. So, Sapna Das is here with more. Sapna.
Well, I suppose this particular announcement by the government for equity dilution or rather minority stake sales in listed public financial institutions as well as select public sector banks, I think this had been in the offing for quite some time. Way back in Jan, we had reported that, of course, 4 banks where the public shareholding, where the government shareholding is above 93%, namely IOB, Central Bank, UCO Bank, as well as Punjab and Sindh Bank. Some kind of push will be required in terms of minority stake sales, probably, apart from the fact that the banks also have plans for QIP. But the fact remains that the shareholding is so high, and the timeline for these entities to meet the minimum public shareholding norms is August 2026. So there isn't too much of time if that needs to be hammered down. However, having said that, in terms of the public financial institutions, possible entities could be wherever the government shareholding is above 75 odd percent, namely, of course, LIC is a known candidate, and the plan for an FPO. There is a full plan that the government has in mind. It just depends upon the quantum and the timing, basically. And also other entities like, say, for example, GIC, New India Assurance, and maybe even CPSEs like IRFC, wherever the government shareholding is above 75 odd percent. I think the game plan now is very clear to bring it down to the SEBI norms. And we'll have to wait and watch how this progresses. Of course, the appointment of the iBankers, it's by around end of March. So there is still some time away. And plus, they will have a 3-year tenure with a 1-year extension. So, the entire plan is at a very preliminary stage right now. But I'm sure that down the line, these are some of the entities that the government has in mind for possible OFSs.
Right, thank you, Sapna, for that. On to a CNBC TV 18 exclusive. Federal Bank's ambition is to break into the top 5. That's the word from new CEO KVS Manian in his first television interview. Speaking with Shireen Bhan, Manian said that the bank is betting on expansion in Tamil Nadu and Maharashtra, along with a foray into wealth management.
This decision, of course, was a very tough decision. Yes, in some ways, very easy decision as well. Tough decision because, my earlier employment, I was there for almost 30 years.
Yes.
And been part of that growth story, built several businesses, had fantastic relationships, learnt a lot. Everything that I am today was from there. So it was a difficult decision to do that. But yet, I think wanting to run your own ship, captain of your own ship.
Captain of your own ship made the choice easier.
That was the easier. That is what made it easy, I think, and the opportunity itself of Federal Bank.
While everyone agrees with the direction that you are taking as far as growing the bank is concerned, there are questions and some concerns on the execution challenge and whether the targets that have been set, for instance, on return on assets and so on and so forth, are too ambitious and doable. How do you respond to that?
So, Shireen, in fact, I clarified in my presentation there that those exact numbers are not important, right? The direction is important, one. Two, if there is a sectoral deflation or inflation of those matrices, obviously the point we were making is there is best 3 and next 3, and we should lie somewhere in the middle of that pack. The parameters by themselves may change a bit here and there, but the idea is to lie in the middle of that pack, and that's the ambition. We are not a bank which has a very comfortable cost to income ratio, as you know. I mean, we are at about 52-53%, and I would say I have relatively low wiggle room on stretching that too much. So therefore, we'll have to follow a strategy where we grow our revenues and put on costs in tandem. We'll have to pace them reasonably equally. We will pace ourselves in a manner that we keep control of our parameters and do not run away with too much investments in the beginning in the hope of getting revenues. We will balance ourselves.
And you can catch the full conversation at 5:30 p.m. right here on CNBC TV 18. Tata Capital Board has approved its IPO plan. The move is in sync with RBI's mandatory requirement for upper-layer NBFCs to list within 3 years of being notified. Tata Investment Corp, which has an over 2% stake in Tata Capital, surged in trade on the back of the board approval. The company board has also approved rights issue worth 1,504 crores for stakeholders. Ritu Singh is here with more on the details on the public offer.
The board of Tata Capital has approved plans for an initial public offering which will comprise of a combination of fresh issue of 23 crore equity shares and an offer for sale by existing shareholders. The board has also approved issuing shares worth up to 1,504 crores on a rights basis to existing shareholders. Now, while Tata Capital did not indicate any timeline for this IPO, it said that it will be subject to market conditions, receipt of various approvals and regulatory clearances. Now, incidentally, this will be the second IPO from the Tata Tata Group company within the span of 2 years after we saw that bumper listing of Tata Technologies in 2023. The move is very much in line with RBI's mandatory requirement for upper layer NBFCs to get listed within 3 years of being notified, and for Tata Capital, which is on this list, the deadline is September 2025. Now, as of March 2024 end, Tata Capital had assets under management of more than 1,57,000 crores, with profits after tax of about 3,150 crores. More than 85% of its portfolio consists of retail and SME lending. It serves more than 4.5 million customers across 723 locations. In terms of shareholding, the promoter Tata Sons holds nearly 93% stake as of March 2024. Another 2.15% was held by Tata Investment Corporation, and the rest by other Tata Group entities, individuals and International Finance Corporation. So while we may see Tata Capital get listed by September this year to comply with RBI norms, it is still unclear whether Tata Sons will have to follow suit. That's because their application for deregistration is still under review by the RBI. If the RBI grants them approval, Tata Sons can remain private. If not, the Tata Group may have to navigate a much larger and more complex listing process.
Right, thank you, Ritu, for that. SEBI has released a consultation paper on the F&O segment. The market regulator has recommended a change in the way open interest is calculated in the options space. Yash Jain is here with more. Yash, take us through SEBI's proposed changes.
Well, that's correct. The aim of this consultation paper from market regulator SEBI is to make the whole process through which stocks get categorized as under F&O ban and come out of that ban much more predictable, and the variation between the two reduces to a great extent, giving more certainty to retail traders when it comes to the F&O segment. What are the two proposals? Two important parts of the proposals. The first one is with respect to the open interest computation, when it comes to identifying stocks, when it comes to F&O ban. Currently, if the open interest position in any stock increases 95% of the market-wide position limit in that stock, then the stock gets pushed into F&O ban. This is the current regulation. SEBI has sought a change with respect to this thing, essentially moving from this to a future equivalent approach, which means SEBI wants to identify the delta in a particular stock, for it to be, transferred under the ban category of the F&O list. What SEBI believes is this could reduce the number of stocks going into F&O ban by as much as 90%. The second point which SEBI has proposed is with respect to the change in the definition and calculation of market-wide position limit itself. The existing limit says that market-wide position limit for each stock equals to 20% of the stock's free float market capitalization. The new proposal from SEBI suggests that it could be the lower of either 15% of the free float market capitalization or 60 times average daily delivery value in the cash market segment. As I said, two things, both things aimed at bringing more certainty into stocks being categorized under the ban category of F&O and reducing the number of stocks itself which go into the F&O category and come out of it.
Right, thank you, Yash, for that. Moving on, Unilever CEO Hein Schumacher will step down in March, less than 2 years after taking charge, in a surprising decision. Schumacher leaves the company on May 31st. The company has said that he's leaving by mutual agreement. The departure comes just weeks after Unilever announced underwhelming full-year earnings. Current CFO Fernando Fernandez will take over the reins from March onwards. All right, time for a short break, but coming up next, French President Macron says a ceasefire in Ukraine could be in place within weeks. This after a cordial meeting with President Trump that also displayed their stark differences. More on that when we return. Welcome back. The US has imposed sanctions on 4 Indian companies for alleged involvement in Iran's oil trade. A dozen other entities from other countries have also been sanctioned. The firms have been accused of attempting to circumvent sanctions on Iran's oil exports by facilitating transportation of the country's petroleum-related products. The US sanctioned 4 other Indian entities last year for alleged involvement in Russia and Iran's oil and gas trade. The US has sided with Russia in in a UN resolution vote on Ukraine at the UN General Assembly in New York. The US opposed a European drafted resolution condemning Moscow's actions and supporting Ukraine's territorial integrity. Russia and countries including North Korea and Belarus also opposed the resolution. The US then drafted and voted for a resolution which called for an end to the conflict but contained no criticism of Russia. The Security Council passed this resolution, but the UK and France abstained from voting. French President Macron has said that a ceasefire in Ukraine could be in place within weeks. Speaking to Fox News after meeting US President Donald Trump, Macron said any peace deal in Ukraine must not be a surrender of Ukraine. He added that any deal must be backed by security guarantees.
First, to have a truce. I think it could be done in the weeks to come. During this period of time, we negotiate on security guarantees, land and territories, and it will be the responsibility of the Ukrainian president. Reconstruction. The US will have the deal on critical minerals and rare earths. So we have to negotiate with the US, with the allies, with Ukraine, which type of security guarantee makes sense.
The French president's cordial meetings with President Trump also displayed the stark differences between the two leaders. During the meeting, Macron corrected Trump's claim that European nations would be reimbursed for their contribution to Ukraine.
Europe is loaning the money to Ukraine. They get their money back.
No, in fact, to be frank, we paid 60% of the total efforts, and it was through, like the US, loans, guarantee, grants, and we provided real money, to be clear. We have 230 billion frozen assets in Europe, Russian assets, but this is not as a collateral of a loan because this is not our belonging. So they are frozen. If at the end of the day, in the negotiation we will have with Russia, they're ready to give it to us, super. It will be done at the end of the day, and Russia will have paid for that.
If you believe that, it's okay with me.
Back home, Jubilant FoodWorks has issued a statement after an FIR was registered against company chairman Shyam Bhartia on charges of rape and fraud. The company said Bhartia denies all allegations as they are baseless, false and disparaging. Bhartia also believes the allegations have malified intent. He also promised to fully cooperate with the investigation agency as and when called upon to do so. Prime Minister Narendra Modi inaugurated the Advantage Assam Summit in Guwahati today with India Inc. captains in attendance. Addressing the summit, PM Modi said that Assam will soon become a manufacturing hub for the Northeast. Chief Minister Himant Biswa Sarma said that the state has emerged from being the most disturbed to the most peaceful now. Top corporate captains including Reliance Chairman Mukesh Ambani, Adani Group Chairman Gautam Adani and Tata Sons Chief N. Chandra were in attendance. Ambani said that AI will soon stand for Assam intelligence, added that the state's tech-savvy youth will redefine its future.
असम ने 2030 तक अपनी इकोनॉमी को 150 बिलियन तक पहुंचाने का टारगेट सेट किया है। मुझे विश्वास है असम इस लक्ष्य को जरूर हासिल कर सकता है। असम आज साउथ ईस्ट एशिया और भारत के बीच का गेटवे बनकर उभर रहा है।
In the previous summit in 2018, Reliance had committed an investment of 5,000 crores in Assam. Since then, our investment in the state has exceeded 12,000 crores. In the coming years, Reliance will more than quadruple this investment in Assam to over 50,000 crores over the next 5 years. After building world-class connectivity infrastructure, we will now install high-performance computing infrastructure. Reliance will establish an AI-ready data center in Assam.
The Tata Electronics facility will have an investment of 27,000 crores and will produce 48 million chips per day. It will be the largest semiconductor chip packaging facility in this part of the world, in India and Southeast Asia, right here in Jagi Road, creating over 30,000 jobs.
It is with a great pride that I announce today the Adani Group's commitment to invest rupees 50,000 crores in Assam. Our investments will span across airports, aero cities, city gas distributions, transmissions, cement, and road projects.
Before we wrap, the world's brightest minds in technology, business and innovation have gathered in Doha for Web Summit Qatar 2025. This year, over 25,000 from 124 countries are expected to attend what is the largest tech gathering in the Middle East. Take a look.
The world's brightest minds in innovation, business and technology have all gathered in Doha at Web Summit Qatar 2025.
Web Summit Qatar is the largest international gathering of startups and entrepreneurs the Middle East has ever seen.
Qatar is now the epicenter for transformative ideas and collaborations, setting the stage for new opportunities.
I said there's an amazing opportunity in women's professional sports. It's so undervalued, and I'm going to start by buying or beginning, starting an NWSL team, and one day, I believe it can be worth $1 billion. And this is the nature of what we do in tech. We've seen a secular shift now in the investment in emerging sports, but in particular women's sports.
The global AI standards are critical to ensuring that this technology will be deployed and adopted in a reasonable way. I think that AI will be an incredible technology, and there's incredible reason for optimism for AI as a technology.
Web Summit Qatar, in association with CNBC TV 18.